Welcome back to Frequency Today. I'm your co-host, Denise Mahaffey, with my lovely co-host, Tasha Jackson.
Hey, everybody.
Our guest today is the lovely Lady Alin Reed.
Thank you
To
for having me.
my left. It's the opposite. So, the topic today is how to manifest success with secret knock women. We're here with Lady Alin Reed, who is the creator of Secret Knock Women, and Womanity. She is literally one of the most incredible, dynamic people that I know. And in our freaky frequency FAQs, so freaky facts, did you know Lady Alin Reed holds a Guinness World Record?
Thank you. So I scaled the tallest mountain of Africa, Mount Kilimanjaro. And how that came about is, now that I've had some distance and time, is that because I was never, it was never on my bucket list. I didn't even know what a Kilimanjaro was when I got the invitation to go. But I would chalk it up to that. One, I was young, hot, and reckless. And two, I was very comfortable living without a blueprint. And so I can make a move or make a decision without having the need of like too much data or reference. So I think if that was not there in my makeup, probably would not have done it, right? So I would chalk it up to that.
What was it like?
So it's actually a wonderful experience. We took 5 days to go up and 2 days to go down. I was one of three women out of 14 of us who went. So the rest were men, our Sherpas were men. So it was like a crew of close to 100 people. And there were us three ladies. And we covered through five different climates, or five climates. And you walk so slow. They yell at you all day long to walk slower. Um, like
Interesting.
like there's this thing called pole that they tell you because you're walking too fast. And so it's like that. I always think, our minds are really fast. They work really fast, and often our footsteps will walk as fast as that rhythm inside our minds. And so this was having to go the reverse. Today we're like taught to slow down our mind, but not really like slow down our movement. Right. And so this one, it's like slow down your movement. And it was forcing our minds to slow down because you wouldn't make it if you go too fast. You'll get like, what is the equivalent of seasickness, but for height? Altitude sickness. That's what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's a really perfect analogy for just this nature of meditation and spirituality in general is
Mhm.
that, being in the present moment and slowing down and not moving too quickly. Um, we both, Denise and I both have gone through different parts of the spiritual journey over the last 2 years. And that is one of the things that I really have had to learn because I have a lot of fire energy. And so it's go, 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 go all the time. And I had to learn how to slow down. I really did. And it was really difficult.
Yeah. So
I,
I would always
I
keep
agree with that.
thinking of that. I don't know if it's the Chinese have it, the turtle versus the rabbit. Like,
Oh, the tortoise and
like
the
the
hare.
mind, yeah, that tortoise and the hare. Like the mind is the rabbit, and like how the pacing they wanted us to go was the hare. And you know what? I didn't really condition. Here's something I don't talk about much. I tried to take a walk to condition. Didn't do so good with that. Probably took like two walks. And then when we got there, I felt very unprepared because we were in the van and like the other people were coming in, and they're all comparing notes of like, oh, there were other couples. They were like, oh, we did the Mount Whitney together. Some people were like going up and down stairs of high rises.
Mm,
Like, yeah, 60 floor high rises. And I was sitting there
okay.
like, wow, I'm gonna die. I should have at least done a sit up. I didn't even do any of that, you know. I was like, so I'm listening to all their stories and I'm like, what am I doing? What did I sign up for? You know?
Here, there's a mountain called Camelback Mountain where I live in the Phoenix Valley, and there are people that they train to go up that mountain, and it's a hardcore training. And anyone that you meet that they tell you that they're training to hike up Camelback Mountain, they're just like this, amazing person, like just to train to go up that mountain, okay, is an achievement. Whether you go up the mountain or not is irrelevant. It's the training in order to get up the mountain, okay? She just did it. Kind of similar. She just did it. And her son was just like, I can't believe you just did it, because if anybody else would have done it, they would have died.
Well, I was out of tricks. I didn't have any tricks, right? And
Yeah.
so before we started, actually I even like kind of panicked because our guide the night before we like go, he lays out this map. We're gonna cover, you know, what we're gonna do in each day and explain the terrain. And he's got this whole thing laid out, and everyone's just like looking at it. And I was like, I'm gonna go take a nap. Like, I can't listen to this. I'm literally not gonna go do this if I listen to all of this. So I just left. And so I was thinking, how am I gonna do this? Like, what? I'm already here. I'm not gonna go home, right?
Yeah.
So I decided then that I would just listen to every word he would say. And so hence when they were like, you're going too fast, I'm like, I'll go extra slow. You know, like I just did it as like to the T times 100 as I could. And I would say probably the healthiest up, because there were people who didn't do so good. They were measuring themselves, all this kind of stuff, like their steps and their heart rate and the blah blah blah. And we all made it up, but I literally saw a body roll like down the side of the mountain at 3 a.m. That was from our group, and I was like, I think that's one of our people, you know. I think we gotta stop, you know what I mean? So, and it was like the athlete, you know what I mean, like the highly conditioned and highly probably went go with the training. And I just really had the humility that like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I am. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm gonna listen to the one that knows, you know.
This is so how do I explain it? Um, Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey, this thing called life. You are describing life. And you know what? Before we incarnate into this thing called a body, we have this master plan for everything that we want to accomplish while we're on this planet, right? We have no idea what it's going to be like once we get here. And it's feet to the fire. It's literally you have to keep climbing. You have to complete your mission, and then you can come back down the mountain.
Mhm.
Isn't that like ascension? Isn't that just like life? I
Yeah,
am
I actually
so, I'm blown
at
away.
at this point, I just play this game with myself, is how much of that plan can I remember? The one that I wrote before I got here. Like that's where I'm at. And it's been like so fun to like pace the downloads, the sharpen the antennas, the all of it, and not be sitting in a cave, like actually be living a great life while doing it. And because I was like, I'm not gonna be on this path and just like be a tree hugger, live and smell like patchouli and like have nothing. This is not my lot in life.
Yeah.
I don't want to live in a cave. Like people have been praying in caves for thousands of years. We're still a mess as a collective. So I'm not doing that. So my negotiation with God, the universe, I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I don't want to be poor and smelly. I want all my things that I like. I like my gems, my books, my nice car, my ocean view home. Like, that's how I'm going to do it. So whatever that is, I'm game. If it can be that, then I'm in. So it's been great to be able to, it's like a enmeshment of manifestation, not just really the spiritual part of it, but also the material.
You know what? And that's the perfect segue into did you also know that Lady Alin created Secret Knock, the original Secret Knock, of which every single day I think of you because I have
Oh,
this
it's the key.
keepsake and it's the key from the original Secret Knock. It's the
Uh,
one titled Memory. And
uh,
yes, I have very, very fond memories of my experience. I wrote an article, which I'll publish on medium.com. So that experience was just totally mind blowing. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't even know where the event was until the day of. That's how cool Lynn is.
Yeah.
It's like,
I read the first draft of that article and I was just like, just reading it as like a spectator, I was envisioning myself there or what Denise was going through. And I was just like, that sounds like such a cool thing that to be a part of and to experience, especially.
it
I,
has been a wonderful time designing that in the beginning. It's really begun to mature into that original vision I was having about it. I think it's probably been going on for like, I don't know now, 15, 16, 17, I don't know, before I even had my son. So it's been going on for a while. And
Mhm.
so that was created for before community was a thing, you know what I mean? Before like content was a thing, before influencers were a thing. I was like, how do I bring people together from all walks of lives and bring them good content, expose them to good content, not like industry content because boring. But something that enriches them, but not so self-helpy or shelf-helpy. and uh and and also have them be of a certain caliber that they as a man or woman in their heart, in their space, that being around each other, just being in each other's vicinity would also be of value. That was really what I was after. So that's been that. Now there's like Secret Knock brands. We have the Secret Knock women coming up in June. And so that one is much different because like whereas Secret Knock, you can go for the deal type of conversations. With Secret Knock women, I'm really focusing on the core problem of why women are kind of like second class or getting left behind and all this other noise. I observed that when the glass ceiling, yes, used to be made of men, but in today's time, the glass ceiling is made of women because they don't relate well to each other, with each other. And they
Yeah.
have no social skills. We've been mimicking the way men do business, which is no like trust.
Yeah.
Women can know like trust all day long and these partnerships go nowhere or go sideways. I've seen it over and over and over and over. And so I've decided to really scrub out that part of it, where we're like showing up somewhere because, there might be money there or there might be uh meddled people there, accomplished people there. I've scrubbed all that to like, if you don't have it in your heart right now to see that having relationships with other women is valuable, you shouldn't come. Because I do the vetting and make sure everyone's good. I mean, everyone's crazy, but it's not like psycho crazy. You know,
Crazy in a good
we've all
way.
got our crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Crazy
fine.
in a good
That's
way.
all accepted. But everyone's already vetted. And so when they get there, they're not even allowed to talk about who they are and what they do.
That's
Oh, I think that's
awesome.
So we're really
Yeah.
just relating woman to woman, value system to value system, exercising some of these things called acceptance and celebrating each other for what we are versus like what we're doing and the titles we've gotten and who we know. So scrubs all that out. So
I
that's
was going to I was going to ask you, what was your inspiration? How did you what was okay, so in our last interview that we had with Ashley Holland, off camera, we were talking about when the divine inspiration strikes you at certain times, and usually it's on the toilet, in the shower. And this is just a normal, like, people think that, like you said, the sage in the cave, you think you're like meditating for hours and hours, and then you burst through with these amazing ideas, and really it's just you were on the toilet. You know?
yeah.
But what was like what what was the defining moment, or what was the download that you received that you started on that path?
In truth, it is something I drag my feet to do. This is, remember, I negotiated. So, most of my days is like a living meditation. So I don't have the peaks of like, aha, I don't have those anymore. Everything's like sort of a steady thing
Hmm.
that's happening. And I only really notice if I'm feeling out of tune from from the vein, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. And so the part where you're talking about what's the divine, is there a specific moment? No, because I specifically trained myself not to only have defining moments when it comes to like being in communion with the universe and myself and God and the soul, intuition, all of that. Because then I found I was creating situations that would escalate towards defining moments. And so
Hmm.
when I diffused all that, life's been very calm and amazing. So, but to answer your question, there's no defining moment. However, I do resist it because the women's movement, to me, I didn't get it. Like, why do I do it? Why me? When I got the call to
Denise and I
literal
were
phone
having that
call,
conversation the
I'm
other
like,
day.
oh, really? Because I've been absent from running the whole thing.
Hmm.
So I got a call, from my co-founder, and he's like, I need help because the woman who's supposed to host it, she can't come. She's in the hospital. And I was like, oh, and he's like, and I'm a man, so I can't host a women's event. I'm a man. I'm like, okay, when? In 3 days. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. 3 days? Okay. And so for that one, I just went with how it was going to go. I stuck with the program that was already preset, but I got to observe what was happening. And I was like, oh, wow, what is this? It's totally somewhere else. And so it wasn't filling the gap, if you will. And I said, what is this gap? I don't even care about the women's movement. I have a great relationship with women. Like, I've had only great examples of women. I've only had great relationships with working with women. So to me, I'm like Pollyanna, apparently. So I had to get that. My positioning was not everyone other women's positioning. Women are going through some things, and they have gone through some things when it comes to working, with other women or having to rise up the ranks. And so I just sat and listened for like a year and a half and just listened and listened. And I call people, I'm like, what's your experience like? What is this? Like, I just be proactive. And so in that sense, all those conversations slowly coalesced into like, give me a good picture of what's going on out there, because my perspective is in everybody's perspective, right? And this is kind of part of that like awakening process at play, is to be able to detach from that practice. And so and so really that's where it's been. And I just listen. I nonstop listen. And so the programming is, I would say, ahead of its time 3 or 4 years. Women are very much about getting it. getting the thing, doing the hustle, doing all that, because that's what has been propagated, has been glorified. It's been like made glamorous. And I see souls, right? So I'm like, you're exhausted. Like I'm like, sure, be on your thing. But I see the exhaustion coming. And I think many people already are. They're just not at a place where they're willing to admit it yet.
Yeah.
But it's coming.
Yeah. I was there 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And so
And
even
when
for
that
myself, I
happens,
was getting geared that way. And I was like, oh, no, no, no. I'm not girl boss. I'm not any of that. I'm just me and I do things.
Yeah.
the cool thing about Alin is that she uses both sides of her brain. And I so appreciate her ability to speak to me on the phone and channel painting at the same time. It's literally incredible. For me as a scribe, I have to focus on the feelings of the energy that's coming through my channel in order to describe and write it all out. Alin she's like, she can do so many things at once, and her life is so flowing. She's just in the flow, and that's what I love about you. You are literally amazing.
Thank
Uh,
you. It is a practice. It's not like effortless or anything. It's been a practice.
Well, and that goes back to what you said earlier about it's just you don't have aha moments because it flows the whole entire day. And there was a certain point in time last year when I was in the same, it was just I would wake up and I would, listen for the guidance, and then I would just move through the day, and then I would go to bed. And like you said, my life was so peaceful and not so chaotic. And I look forward to when I can move back into not exactly that same space because I was very sick during that time. So like I don't want to move back to that. However, I now I strive. It's kind of like you had a taste. I got a taste of it. And so now that's the way that I strive to structure my life so that I don't end up where I was 2 weeks ago when I ran myself into the ground and was really exhausted. Because again, I have a lot of fire energy and I'm prone to doing that if I'm not mindful and consciously aware about how I'm utilizing my energy.
Denise, are you also fire energy?
I'm water.
Water.
I
So
am.
I'm the air in the group. Okay.
Woohoo!
No, I'm an Aquarius, but my rising and my moon are fire. So is Denise. Denise's rising is fire, and so is her moon. But so that's
So
like,
you are fire. Okay.
yeah. So she's like water fire. I'm air fire. So like I consider this is the analogy that I give to people because I'm an Aquarius sun, and so it's like a pressure cooker, and so the fire is like boiling underneath, and I try to keep it contained and keep it contained, and then it just blows out. you know
Yeah.
that's
So
the way that I
you
describe
what
myself.
is it? What's the saying? You fan your own fire.
Yeah, yeah. So I have to be very mindful about how I go about the day because I very quickly can burn out, right? I just had burnout, like I said, 2 weeks ago. I had really extreme burnout because I get really excited about what it is that I'm doing and creating because I'm not in a side hustle, rise and grind life anymore. I'm inspired. I want to create and I want to do that all day long, sometimes 20 hours a day, right? Because you're an open channel and then you're just getting all of these downloads and you're just excited about what you're doing. But I have to remember that I have to stop and slow down because the human body cannot take the amount of energy that I download at times.
The interesting dynamic between Tasha and me is that I can download half the message and she'll download the other half. And we channel the same guide. It's nuts in a good way, in a good way. And I think that's part of the ascension process is that you literally have to lose your mind in order to find your heart. And what Alin has created through her events is how to find your heart and to live heart forward, and greet in other individuals, other spiritual beings with your heart, not your brain. And I do believe that's what you've created, and I'm so happy that this platform is out there for women, because that is sorely missed in corporate America. I could tell you like war stories left and right. But for our viewers, Lynn, could you share maybe some tips on how to balance straddling the 3D to the 5, we call it 5D plus, because like you are off the charts, into the infinite domain. So do you have any tips you can give?
Yes. Yes, my entire life is centered around the soul, and not my heart or not my mind, or my stomach. But I have found this thing called SOS, and it's a soul operating system. And truly our mind, our heart, our digestive system, our endocrine system, all of that, they're apps. And so most everyone deals with life using their one app, their mind. Now the space encourages the use of a second app called heart, but all those apps live inside, in under or over or overlaid onto or inside a operating system, and we all have one. And so there's this thing called the soul. It's not a marketing term, it is an organ we all have. It's our etheric organic being, but on an etheric form, just like recently in science, like there's realizing it's not just like water is not only solid, liquid, gas. It has a fourth state. So we too are not just a physical state. We also have an etheric state, and actually even more than way more powerful than the subconscious is the soul, because that's where the database is of everything you wanted, everything you've gone through, the things that have happened in this world, where it's going to go, the talents that come through, all the clear talents, plus all the other ones that develop from that. That's all rooted in the soul, not the mind or the heart or any of these things. And this is partly why there's a tick in like mental health, because we're trying to do this life only with the mind. And some people only do this life with the heart, which is equally exhausting, to just be feeling things all the time and not making any sense and order out of it, right? But then with the mind, there's all this order and sense, but like no feeling at all. And so because there's no captain, then they're put in this position where they compete, or they're working hard to align. They don't have to do that, because the heart cannot think and the mind cannot feel. And so they're just data centers. That's it. It's the soul that sifts through all the data that comes in from around you and goes, okay, that's the appropriate move. That's what's real. That's filtered, And so when we pick up these skills that activate the soul into our existence, and most of us, like when I first started, it would kick out. My nervous system would kick it out within like split second. So we have to build what's the word, a safe space for even the nervous system and our protective mechanisms to allow for that to be the captain and not the mind, so the mind can like take a rest. And so I would say I would start there, just working with the concept that we're all souls first before we inhabited all this body. So it's what animates this life. It's what gives it persona. It's when we die, it goes, like it detaches, So it does not only a download, but it also uploads our experiences into the cloud, if you will, our etheric cloud, for which wherever we choose to go, or wherever we head off next, takes it with you. All your beliefs here, all the things you've done here, whatever whatever pebbles you've laid down here, and on the other side, the corresponding effects of those, that all gets uploaded too. So, so there's a lot of layers happening here, but I would say that the first tip is to understand this thing called soul and the soul operating system.
Hey, we're taking a short break to say thank you so much for watching Frequency Check. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on all of our other social media platforms. And most importantly, don't forget to buy us a coffee and check out our coffee shop.
That is profound. That is so profound.
Yeah.
I agree with you
Learned a
completely.
lot.
I agree with you completely. And that saying, you can't take it with you, it's true. Your experiences that we have, that we create in this incarnation, they all go in the package deal. And also, like you were saying, the etheric experiences of our past. People say the Akashic records and all of that, but it's yourself. You have all that data held within yourself.
Yes.
So really, if I feel that once you're able to awaken and truly open up your spirit and see yourself as an energetic field that is contained within a body, and you're able to see that other beings around you, they're called people, they're the same thing. They're just energy contained in a physical contraption called a body.
Yeah. Actually, I still have it up, but on my site, I used to have this visual where like, your body, here's your soul, like a circle, and your body, like it's like right here. Like your whole soul can't even fit in the body. This is how we're able to even, know when someone's entering the room, when someone turns the corner, or if you enter a room and people are in a bad mood, like you feel all of that. And it's not because like you're empathic. Yes, but like it's because there's sensory mechanisms external to your physical body that is an actual thing. So it's that.
I
Like,
teach
It's
my
mechanics.
kids that those are our spidey senses.
Yeah.
but Lynn can see auras. I don't have my Claire vision as in tune as she does. She can see colors, energy fields, all of that. I can see auras in trees, and if I really get into the relaxed state, I can kind of see the outline around people, the halo. It really looks like a halo. But that's what I'm talking about. We're pure energy that is embodied in physical form, and this embodiment is not going to last that long. So to be able to tune into, your soul's purpose and mission and why you're here, it's super cool that we get to do all these things that we feel are accomplishments, yet living and breathing is one of the biggest accomplishments there is. And once you do not have your health in order, you'll get what I'm talking about. And sometimes, I mean, when you do have to lose your mind in order to find your heart, that's when you find your soul. And when your soul takes over, that's when they say spirit takes over. Your life is forever changed.
Forever.
Ever changed. So that's why I adore you, Lynn. I adore you, Tasha, because you comprehend where I'm coming from. We've all had near-death experiences, and we're all here to tell others that this thing called spirituality and ascension is no joke. It truly is challenging. It's very challenging to be a spiritual individual having a human experience on this planet.
Yeah.
And when the going gets rough, which it will, you talk about dark night of the soul, holy moly. I had a year and a half of that with the Scorpio Taurus alignment, and I'll go into that another day. It's another story for another day. But that's when I almost lost my life 3 times. And it was because my body was failing. It was literally failing me. And I had to die in order to come back to life. And it sounds kind of kooky, but that's the whole thing with ascension and Zen, is you will die, but the old version of you will die off, and the new version will emerge. So to be able to bring into a physical setting all of these spiritual women who are of the same frequency, operating, at the same frequency, that has got to be the most incredible experience. And Lynn, thank you for creating this platform for women to be able to experience, the frequency of collective Zen. I just think it's literally amazing. Thank you. And you have changed my life profoundly. Thank you. Both of you have, but Lynn, I think of you, I'm not joking, every single day because I pick up these keys and I just, you'll, viewers, you'll read it. You'll read it in the article. So thank you. Can you tell us about Womanity?
So Womanity is a little bit of my sarcasm, if you will, because you knew me before the whole process began, which is probably like my third round of the process, because I don't listen the first time. So I've always kind of taken it like, oh, there's people who are like woo woo, and I'd be like, oh, they're woo woo, and so that's
they smell
then,
like
yeah.
patchouli and live in a cave.
Yes. And then it turns out I'm woo woo. And I was like, oh, this is the irony of life, isn't it? And so the woo, that's Womanity. It's woo plus humanity, and bringing that back in to mankind. And actually now that was a download that it was in my earlier days. So I would be like having those like, kind of moments. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Come on, I gotta sleep. It's like 3:30 in the morning. So I gotta figure out how to modulate this so that it's like in cohesion with that, with like 3D hours here."
Yeah.
Because I have a son and he was a toddler at the time. So, but that was one of those like I knew there was a name and it was just a matter of me tuning my fork so I could hear it. And of course, middle of the night, 3 in the morning, it's like, Womanity, that's what it is, thank you. And then bought the site, bought the domain, that whole thing. So that's what it is.
Well, and as we had spoken before, it's really good that we're creating this community, right? And these different forms of community or these different pockets of community, because people, in my own observations of what's happening at this time, because as we know, we're in an ascension evolutionary process. And so my observations have been two things. One thing is that, especially in the United States, we function mostly on a culture of individuality. I can't talk today. Sorry. Individualism. There, I just changed the word. And so we're so focused on self, and that we're no longer, because if you look at, even just 100 years ago or 150 years ago, so many cultures were based on tribalism or clans or, having that sense of community. And that major disruption then has come down to us where, at least for me, it has been a protective bubble. Get away from me. You're a stranger. There's that built-in sense of distrust. And so breaking down that wall, I think, is incredibly important. That's why when I had first learned about you, I was so excited because, building a sense of community where people can relate. And, again, being an Aquarius, I'm all like, freak flag all over the place, unique, individualism, but like being unique in it, but then at the same time having a unique collective of freaky individuals. It's like this dichotomy of that. And so, there's that, we're regaining that now in the age of Aquarius. We're regaining those pockets of community where we can operate in a space that's safe, right? And then again, the rise of the divine feminine, right? So the bringing all of these feminine energies together and allowing them to have a safe space to operate and really fully embracing what it means. Because as you were saying before, there are a lot of women that have been conditioned to go chase after the thing, or, you know, behave in very masculine ways. I used to do it. I'm sure Denise, when she was in her corporate world, that's how she also behaved. And as true sacred divine feminines, that's not how we should be, right? And so there's this disruption within ourselves that then causes, right, the chaos on the inside. You see the chaos on the outside, right? And so, you know, again, I think that the work that you're doing is so incredibly important for the time that we're in now, because women can start to regain, and even men, because there are men that are sacred feminines, can start to regain that sense of, this is my true essence. This is how I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be in a free flow all day, right? It's not barefoot in the kitchen pregnant. It's inspiring, intuitive, guiding, wisdom, right? All of these attributes that have been lost over time because of predominant toxic male energy.
Yeah, so actually it's like the pendulum is not, you know, they say the pendulum swings from one end to the other, and I don't think it's swinging to the other side. There's a patriarchy because of what the early evolution of patriarchy a long time ago, not in this memory or in this recent history, even our recent ancient history, it was actually matriarchy. And the men really took whatever we think we're going through right now, they went through the same thing, and hence they had a rising to what it is that, you know, today in recent years that we were going through. And so I don't think that like there's a dominance that's going to happen, because a divine feminine occurs in men too. I'm seeing it everywhere I go. And so I think that it's around, you know, how do we to fully live ourselves, who we are supposed to be. It has to be both the masculine and feminine interplaying, interacting, meshing and meshing, being itself, to be able to be elastic. It's not that like, okay, well, both will exist within me and it'll be in these two lanes. No, it has to be elastic. It has to be able to move based on what's appropriate
Right.
in your life and in the consciousness. And so, you know, I think that if women right now completely abandon, you know, those things are around nurturing, you know, inspiring others is actually very masculine, right? Like me doing what I do, even though it's a women's event, but for women to feel safe, somebody's got to make them feel safe. And what is that? That's masculine energy. I have to be the masculine energy as a host and as a facilitator. I'm in the shape of a woman that day, right? I mean, every day, but I have to be masculine that day or no one's going to let their guards down. And so, you know, to be able to move through that, and because that's what's appropriate, you know, like if I was just like, I'm only going to be feminine, the day would not have a start time and end time. There would be no focused conversation. There would be crying all over the place, probably arguments too in the middle of it, like, and then hysterical laughing on one corner. It would be just a total like mess, and there would not be a united, unified result, direction that would create momentum for the future events and for thus other women. And so, you know, so I think like the kids that are our offspring, the new, you know, the sons and daughters that are being brought into this world. So women have to be able to move through both. You know, you can nurture and you can inspire if that's what you want to do. But like if it's like too rigid on either side and it's not where your heart's at, or where even your soul's purpose is at, then there's clashing happening, and that has to get resolved and remedied and linked together so that it can occur. So, you know, I don't really, I'm not a proponent of like, oh, okay, let's make it it's a woman's world. And I'm like, no, it's really not. Nothing's gonna
We
happen.
need both. There, it has to be a balance, and
Yeah,
that's
like
what,
really
you
not.
know. Yeah,
The men need help. They want,
yes,
you know, and they want the help.
yeah, and well, and what I have experienced is in the energy is a recalibration, right? It's a recalibration, is that it's now being understood that we have to have both, but also what I have seen is that now those unique traits that each of us have and how our society fits together as a puzzle, the things that I'm great at, right, are the things that you're not great at. And so then we come together and we work together, and the things that you're great at are the things that I'm not great at. And so then that's how we work together to build a more stable, balanced society. And so, you know, again, I feel like I can't say it enough about how important the work is that you're doing in building these communities to help people understand, because then it's a degradation of those. And I've, you know, I watch some tarot sometimes. I used to watch it a lot, but now I watch it a lot less. But you'll see sometimes in the comments where, like you said, women are kind of swinging all the way over, and it's like, no, you're missing the point. It's their journey. I understand that's where they need to be. They need to experience that contrast, right? But it's really that that middle path, that moderation, that understanding of you have to have a balance. There has to be a harmony in between those two. And like you said, there are days, like as a single mom, I have to be both, but now I'm much better at recognizing when I'm too much in one or not enough in the other. And then I can do a recalibration within myself. And then I see a recalibration in my immediate environment as well.
You know what? You guys are cracking me up because, okay, Tasha had a premonition the other day. I think it was 2 days ago. And I get this text. It was kind of late in the day. And she says, "Hey, you are really up on the 7 hermetic principles." And I was like, "Laws of the universe. Heck yeah." Tasha, what you and Alin are describing are the laws of the universe. The divine masculine and divine feminine in balance is the 7th hermetic principle, which is gender. And it has nothing to do with reproduction. It has everything to do with harmonic balance. It's all about energy frequency.
Yeah.
I'm just giggling inside because this is the episode. She had total premonition that this was gonna happen.
Yeah, but this is the thing, is that sometimes I don't know that my premonitions are premonitions. I just like have a thing pop in my head or I see something, and then I just text Denise, sometimes completely random stuff. And then, yeah, and then there are times when I know that I'm having a premonition, but then there are other times where I'm just like, I don't know what this means yet, but I'm just putting it out there. And then something will come along and happen. It has happened too, where Denise, where something will happen to me, and then a parallel exact thing will happen to Denise.
Denise,
Yeah.
I've had that with a business partner. It was really fascinating.
Isn't it?
Halfway across the world.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
And I'm like,
Yeah.
over there, you know?
Yeah. And we would go months and months without speaking to each other because we were both struggling with health issues at exactly the same time and going through the ascension process and everything. And so then we would get together after like 6 months, get on the phone and start talking. And then she would be telling me what happened to her. And I'm just like, that's exactly the same thing that just happened with me, but with other people.
Wow. So again, I don't know what we signed up for before we incarnated into these physical contraptions called bodies, but it must have been like the twinsies, like, yeah, we're gonna do this. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna wear the same tracksuit.
I don't get it. But life is fun like that. So can you share like maybe one of your favorite success stories from Secret Knock Women?
Oh gosh.
I know you have a boatload of them.
There's so much. I would say that, you know, the lives that are still here, because there have been more than a handful who, I don't know if that was like the last thing they decided to do or what, but they decided not to take their own lives, you know. That's one like that's, I would say, a specific category. The second is like the people who are just like going from total obscurity to just like being completely expressed, not just in who they are, but it mirrors with how much they reach people
Wow.
and how big they get. I'm like, you need to be teaching me what's going on, like what happened, And so that catalyst function that turns on in people, I don't know if it's like a knob internally that happens and then it just like unleashes. I would say that would be, gosh, there are so many. I have so many faces running through my mind right now of that. So I would say like our most recent one, I would say a gentleman named James Dixon, like not even, I think 2, 3 years ago, he actually quit. We didn't know each other yet, but he was working in a factory. And he told me that recently, this I didn't even know, that like for his wife to like walk to the mailbox, she could be robbed like as like normal. And I was like, what? And so, and I saw in his post that he quit his job, and I saw the date. I was like, oh, that's my birthday. That's interesting, It was like 2 years ago or something. And literally now he's changing that like thousands of people's lives a week in person, online. I think it's like 10 million a month. And so it's just like, and he just is made for what he's doing. And
Giving him
and
purpose. I love that.
and he knows how to receive and bring people up along with him. And it's just really amazing to watch. And so I would say that's one that comes to mind because he just texted me yesterday. But I've also seen like very accomplished people who were hiding in their own little corner wherever they were, you know.
Ah,
Who still
I
had a lot of
wonder who
life
you could be
left.
talking about right now because she
Yeah.
was, listen, I'm outing Denise right now. I'm outing her right now. She was just like, well, maybe you could do the video interviews and then I'll just be in the background because we did Cana World Expo, okay? And then she's like, I'm the behind the scenes, I'm the Scorpio here. And I was just like, I'm like, it's your time. You're getting in front of the camera and you're sitting with me this time.
I love
And I
it.
was like, the world needs to experience the
Yeah.
lovely energy that is Denise.
Yes. And so yes, there's very accomplished people out there, got one on our team here today. And there had a lot of life left, but according to the paradigm we're in, you hit your success and then you're done. Well, then they're in their little corners of the world, like twiddling their thumbs, like, I have nothing to do. Yes, they're raising their children, but like, isn't there more they could do? But is battling their own fears of speaking, fear of telling their story, all of fear of judgment, all of those things to today are telling their stories, teaching how to build, businesses, teaching how the way they think to others so that other people can borrow it and use it in their own lives. And so there's been many, many of those. And so I feel like I can't like drop those names because there's vulnerable. I don't know. I don't feel like I have permission, but yeah, we have lots of those.
So essentially what you're saying is attending any of your gatherings is, and I will attest to it, it catalyzes your spirit to fulfill your purpose that you agreed to, you agreed with yourself to have this experience. Through your events, your spirit becomes catalyzed and empowered, and it's just nonstop afterwards, that you just cannot go back to the way you were. You're forever changed.
It's true for a secret knock, 3 days for each day, that environment mirrors to you any gaps of everything you could be doing that you're not doing,
Yeah.
that's meant for you to be doing. You know, there's the things we should do, there's the things that we gotta do, but no, what are the things you're supposed to be doing? It's two different things, and that gets mirrored in like, or magnified times 30, because there's so many people in one room who are doing what they're supposed to be doing with their lives, and it's so loud, you're like, you can't ignore it. It's in your face for 3 days straight. So, and then with Secret Knock Women, you know, it's a day and a half, and it's like, who do you need to be that person that's doing what you're supposed to be doing?
And finding your personal legend. And I love The Alchemist, because there's the one passage in the book that says, once you discover what your personal legend is, all the universe conspires to aid you in that process. And it's true.
Yeah.
And I feel that having been a participant in one of Alynn's
You've done
gatherings.
several times, haven't you? Very
Yes.
good.
Yes. The vibe is tangible. You feel like you're standing in the convergence of many ley lines at once.
Mhm.
That's all I can tell you.
It's true. Yeah.
It's
And
a
we don't tell you
physical
what you should
vibe.
do. You know, we're not encouraging anybody to do what we're doing. We're simply going, patch into your thing and go at it, full stop, whatever that is. So all the people that are there are simply examples of that, you know.
And there's encouragement there, there's resources there, there's camaraderie there, there's community, which is very, very valuable, especially when, we're talking about this whole ascension thing and an awakening to what we be, what we truly be, the essence of what we be, which is just pure energy. And how do we navigate in this world, which many don't perceive others as being pure energy.
It's
Um,
true. And for you to be able to patch into the work you're supposed to be doing, you gotta know you.
Yeah.
It's gotta land somewhere. You can't just land on like a holy trampoline, which is where everyone's operating at best right now, right? Like that soul fabric and any of the polarities that exist within you have to get integrated, neutralized, integrated, you
Mhm.
know, harness, like all of that has to get overhauled. And
Totally.
so otherwise you'll run out of you'll run out of gas doing the work you're supposed to do.
Totally, totally. So what's your next event, and how can the community patch into it?
The next one is June 27, 28, and that is the women's event, and it's here in San Diego. And you have a ticket, by the way. And
Oh, love you.
the secretknockwomen.com is how you go, the website you go to for it. So plug in your name and information in there, and myself or my co-host, I do have a co-host, her name is Sloan. Also last name Reed. We're not related, but
I was like, is she your cousin or something?
no, I know Greg
That's
has to
not
say no.
coincidental at all.
I know Greg has to
Aw.
say no, I'm not married to her, but this one is my ex-wife, you know, like no.
Oh my
We joke
God.
like, no, we're not sister wives. It's not like that. But either one of us will be calling and just seeing what's going on in your life and see if it's like you're in a place who see if you have room for women like us, you know.
Oh my gosh. I'm just so excited. One, to be alive, two, to feel alive. And three, to just be back in community with you,
Yeah.
and I'm pointing use this thing called life is truly an adventure, and I am forever grateful to both of you for, one, helping me get through it, and two, allowing me to experience it with you. Thank you so, so much.
It's an honor. I'm honored to be in your orbit. I'm honored to know you. I'm honored to know you, Tasha. And so
Great.
I'm happy to show up for you.
Fantastic. Tasha, do you have any last questions for Alynn?
Well, I was going to say, So I channeled the very end of our show saying, so our sign off, or I think it in news, Denise will know, it's like, what is it, a call or something like that? So we have a saying that we say at the end. And so it's, time is precious. Thank you for spending yours with us.
Oh.
And then that's it.